Divine Effatá Meditation, 7 miraculous doors open to manifest your sacred blessings. Shorts. In the quaint village of Albridge, nestled within verdant hills, legends whispered of divine intervention. Each evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the chapel radiated warmth, a sanctuary where hope flickered in the form of candles. The faithful gathered, trembling with anticipation as they sought the miracles promised by the sacred. It was here that Sarah prayed, her heart a vessel bursting with love for her family and her unwavering faith in St. Jude, the intercessor of hopeless cases. But now, shadows loomed in her home. David, her cherished husband, lay burdened by an illness that turned once bright laughter into a haunting silence. The children watched, their youthful faces etched with fear, each day uncertain, each night a heavy weight. Sarah's fervent prayers echoed within the chapel's walls like a symphony of yearning. The villagers lit candles in solidarity, their flames dancing like spirits reassuring, hopeful, alive. One evening, as Sarah knelt, she felt a surge, a divine flicker of energy. Light engulfed the chapel, and a soft whisper brushed against her ear, breathing life into her spirit. Believe, it beckoned, the word resonating within her soul. She opened her eyes, and gasps filled the air as a figure appeared, a radiant silhouette, glowing with an ethereal light. Glimpses of heaven unveiled themselves in the middle of the congregation, and a miraculous healing began to unfold. Suddenly, amidst the candlelight, the air crackled with electric anticipation. One by one, villagers began to experience remarkable transformations. A woman's long barren womb stirred with life, a child's chronic ailment vanished, and the elderly felt renewed vigor beneath their weary bones. Each miracle not only reignited faith but filled the room with a reverent awe. But Sarah could not shake the gnawing uncertainty drumming in her heart. Was it true faith, or merely the tricks of shadows? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they prayed fervently for David's healing, the weight of desperation hung thick in the air. Sarah felt a pull, a compelling desire to take matters into her own hands. Doubts emerged, fluttering like errant leaves, casting shadows upon her faith. The prosperity gospel whispered sweetly of blessing, each word a temptation. Could quick fixes deliver what devotion had yet to do? She pondered, pondering the fragile nature of faith. Yet, as her heart battled with desperation and doubt, that monumental feast day of St. Jude approached. The villagers felt a stirring of something grand, a brewing miracle beneath the surface. Candles lined the chapel, each flicker swelling with possibilities as they united in prayer. Sarah felt a wave of courage, ignited by the flickering flames. Together, they summoned the strength of faith, waiting with bated breath for a revelation that could reshape their futures. Hope danced on the edge of despair, a reminder that the divine often speaks through the most unexpected moments. Yet, questions lingered heavily. Could they truly reconcile faith with the miraculous events unfolding before them? Would shadows vanish with the light, or would they continue to pepper her heart with doubt? The night trembled with a profound uncertainty, leaving Sarah and the village on the cusp of something extraordinary. As dawn broke over Albridge, the soft light painted the village in hues of gold and hope. The chapel, often the center of their lives, buzzed with expectant energy, even as the villagers' hearts thudded with nervous anticipation. Sarah stood before the altar, her gaze fixed on the flickering flames of the candles that seemed to beckon, whispering encouragement. Today is the feast day of St. Jude, she thought. This was a day of miracles, a day when faith would be tested like never before. In the heart of that sacred space, Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of collective hope surround her like a warm embrace. The congregation, young and old alike, gathered, each carrying their joys, sorrows, and burdens. Faces shone with determination, eyes glittered with the spark of belief. They were ready to witness the divine, ready to see the unseen, to feel the touch of healing. As the first hymn resonated throughout the chapel, Sarah closed her eyes, momentarily drawn into the rhythm of prayer. She pictured David, his smile lighting up the room, laughter ringing like sweet music. Yet that image was haunted by the cruel reality of his illness. The juxtaposition struck deep within her heart. Suddenly, the ethereal whisper that had once brushed her ear lingered again, echoing her thoughts. Believe. It surged through her, igniting a flame of conviction. Lord, St. Jude, whatever it takes. I trust in your timing. Around her, the congregation's voices echoed the sentiment, harmonizing like the very chords of heaven. Silence fell, wrapping the chapel in a sacred cocoon. Time seemed to stretch, as if the universe paused for the powerful invocation of faith. Then, an indescribable energy began to swell in the room. It rolled through the gathered souls, a wave of pure spirit that felt almost tangible. Sarah's heart raced. She sensed the divine manifesting a presence heavy with love and mercy. The air thickened, charged with promises of transformation. Elderly Mrs. Thompson, known for her frailty, suddenly stood taller, eyes wide with amazement as a jolt of life surged through her limbs. Gasps arose as others witnessed the miraculous. A child with a once broken leg tightened his grip on his mother's hand and began to dance, laughter spilling forth like a joyful melody. Sarah could only watch, awash in awe. Yet, the remnants of doubt still lingered like shadows at the periphery of her faith. Would David, the love of her life, experience something extraordinary too? Would he feel this surge of grace? The weight of that thought was the stillest pain among all the miracles. As she opened her eyes to witness the wonder around her, a sudden hush fell upon the crowd. The air shimmered before her, as if a portal to heaven stood ajar. And then she felt a familiar warmth enveloping her. A light flooded her heart, illuminating the dark corners where doubt had once resided. Help me to receive whatever you have in store for me, Sarah prayed silently, tears cascading down her cheeks. I am ready. With newfound determination, she raised her hands in surrender, ready for whatever lay ahead. Miracles were unfolding, yet this felt different. Here, before the altar, the dance of divine connection made her feel alive. She was an integral part of the sacred tapestry, but just as the village came together in faith, shadows of uncertainty threatened to close around them. What would the next move bring? Would the echoes of night bring clarity, or was the breakthrough yet to come? As the congregation held its breath, waiting for a divine sign to guide their steps, a rustle in the shadows caught Sarah's eye. The air shimmered alive with unseen energies, hinting at a truth she had yet to comprehend. What lay ahead in their journey of faith and healing? As silence deepened in the chapel, a ripple of tension vibrated among the villagers. Their astonished eyes were glued to the source of the shimmering light. A figure emerging from the shadows might just be the answer to their prayers. Was it St. Jude himself? The air seemed to pulse with expectancy. Sarah squinted, her heart racing, unsure whether to step forward or remain still. The figure moved with grace, each step deliberate, as if guided by a celestial rhythm. The congregation collectively held its breath, an echo of anticipation resonating in the sacred space. Peace be with you, the figure spoke softly, the tones capturing the essence of divine comfort. As he reached the center of the altar, his presence radiated a calming warmth, infusing the space with an intoxicating blend of hope and love. Whispers surged through the crowd, and Sarah felt herself drawn to this being a messenger perhaps, or a sign of divine presence. Her fear began to dissolve, replaced by an overwhelming sense of purpose. Here was an embodiment of their prayers, a captivating reminder of what they sought. Beloved children of God, he continued, you are gathered here on a blessed day. Today, I bring you not just words but the truth that the veil between heaven and earth is thin. Miracles are not far from you, if only you believe. Elderly Mrs. Thompson, still standing tall, clutched her heart. We have faith. She called out, her voice breaking the fragile silence, igniting a spark among the crowd. We believe. A wave of energy swept through the chapel once again. Sarah felt warmth radiate from her core, an energy growing stronger. This felt new, like a gentle tide washing away her deep-seated fears. She stood taller, bolstered by the strength of her fellow believers. Lay your burdens at the altar, the figure urged. Each of you carries something heavy. Release it, and let the light of faith fill the void. For where there is faith, there is healing. With trembling hands, Sarah placed her heartache alongside those of others' families lost, dreams dashed, health crumbling. She felt every prayer lifted and transformed into a shimmering tapestry of hope, swirling around her like a cocoon. Suddenly, a spark ignited within her spirit. For the first time, she envisioned the possibility of healing. Not just for David, but for herself too. The journey of grief met with grace was within reach. Would God show them the way? The figure stepped forward, his gaze piercing through the uncertainties. Ask with your heart, he instructed. The voice within you knows the answers. What do you seek? Sarah's breath caught in her throat. What did she really want? She wanted her David whole, unharmed by the shadows that loomed over him. But she also wanted to be part of this miracle, to witness the great unfolding of love, peace, and hope in her own soul. Lord, let it be done, she whispered, her voice steadier now, each word a sacred prayer. Around her, congregation members echoed, their voices forming a symphony of belief. Tears flowed freely as they stepped deeper into surrender. Each moment of vulnerability knit them closer together, his merciful hand moving among them. Yet as light filled the chapel, a flicker of doubt tried to encroach again. What if healing was not for David? What if the path ahead was more difficult than she dared to dream? These thoughts clashed with the peace flooding her heart like unending waves. In that charged atmosphere, the figure raised his hand, casting a soft glow over them. Miracles often come when we least expect them. Stay open. The doors of heaven swing wide. As he spoke, translucent silhouettes began to gather behind him, shimmering with light. Each shadow seemed to represent souls touched by God, ready to unleash a torrent of grace upon the world. Sarah's heart warmed with an inexplicable joy combined with fear, an awakening realization dawning upon her what blessings waited on the other side. She embraced the uncertainty, feeling the thrill of possibility wrap around her. Just then, a soft breeze swept through the chapel, carrying a scent of blooming flowers, an unmistakable sign of divine presence. And as eyes turned skyward, the flickering candles seemed to burn brighter, illuminating the path ahead. What awaited them at this miraculous threshold? Would they dare to step through, or would fear keep them bound to the past? While divine possibilities danced in the air, the flickering shadows promised new beginnings. As the glowing presence surrounded the chapel, a hush fell over the congregation, but within that silence, a deep well of emotion stirred in each heart. Eyes glistened with tears of hope, and hands reached for one another, united by a mystical bond that felt unbreakable. The figure spoke again, his voice flowing like a gentle river, cutting deeply into their fears. Beloved children, you carry dreams and burdens alike. But dreams are the whispers of truth, calling you to your destined path. No more shall you be tethered to despair, step boldly into the light of new beginnings. A soft murmur echoed through the crowd as they leaned closer, their anticipation thick in the air. Moments passed as they began to grasp the reality that had stepped down from the heavens. Sarah felt her spirit soar, pulsing with tremendous joy. She turned to look at Mrs. Thompson, whose wrinkled face beamed with a fierce light, a sight so uplifting it ignited faith in those around her. Together, we shall rise. Mrs. Thompson proclaimed, her hands lifted high in praise. Our faith shall guide us. Yes. They began to cry, the refrain growing louder. We believe. We believe. With each chant, Sarah felt the weight of doubt slipping away. The walls of her heart, previously steeped in sorrow, began to crack and let in light. She could feel the warmth from her fellow villagers and the figure at the altar merging into something far greater than themselves. Will you trust in the unseen even as you walk through uncertainty? The figure asked, his eyes sparkling like stars. What I offer is not just healing for the body but renewal of the spirit. Prepare to witness the miraculous. Prepare, for the doors to divine revelation have already swung wide. A gasp of breath swept through the congregation as a tangible energy surged within the chapel. Sparks of luminescent color danced in the air like fireflies captured by the summer night. The light filled the room, wrapping around each person, pulling them into a gentle embrace. Then came a moment of stillness. Each person turned inward, reflecting on the burdens they had laid at the altar. What were these struggles if not opportunities for divine intervention? Each wound, each tear experienced, everything had prepared them for this moment. Focus on what you seek. The figure encouraged, raising his hand as a soft hum seemed to resonate within them. Let your heart guide your desires into prayerful intent. The heavens await your whispers. In that sacred space, dreams began to unfurl like fragile blossoms. Sarah closed her eyes, letting the vision of David's healing fill every corner of her heart. Lord, I seek not only his restoration but a return to joy, to laughter that echoes through our home. Fill me and my family with your love. Gloric whispers joined her in profound prayer, intertwining around them, forming a shared plea that ascended to the heavens. Each heart offered up individual longings, creating a swirling tapestry of faith, of belief that transcended the ordinary. As the figure watched them, his form shimmered with power, each word resonating with sincerity. Do you hear the music of heaven? He beckoned gently. You are woven together into the fabric of divine love. Mutual strength flows through your prayers. In that moment, something shifted. A silence fell, filled with expectant energy, as if the universe held its breath. Was this the moment they had all been waiting for? Were they on the brink of seeing bonds healed, hearts mended, and lives transformed? Just then, a soft rumbling echo reverberated through the chapel, as if the very foundations recognized the stirring of miracles. Sarah's heart raced as she sensed something monumental approaching. The air sparkled, thick with divine potential. What miraculous reality awaited them on the other side? Would their faith break through the threshold of doubt and fear, unleashing all they had dared to dream? As they stood at the precipice of the unknown, they felt the tug of destiny unfolding, undeniable, inviting. The moment was ripe for divine action. Would they step into the uncharted waters of faith? The whispers of hope hung in the air, each heart tethered to the shimmering presence that filled the chapel. Trees outside swayed gently, their leaves dancing as if sharing in the sacred moment. Sarah could feel the electric pulse of faith coursing through her, igniting each corner of her soul. Believe. The figure's voice pierced through the stillness again, resonating with a power that wrapped around each citizen. Their hearts thrummed in sync, a rhythmic understanding that every prayer offered was a seed planted in the divine soil of promise. With their eyes still closed, the villagers felt an urge to be vulnerable, laying bare their aspirations and fears. The soft vibrations of praise rose to the heavens, forming a fragrant smoke of desire and longing. As their voices lifted, Sarah could almost see the prayers breaking free, soaring upwards, an eagle finding its way out of the shadows into the wide, open sky of possibility. Let the burdens you carry become the wings that lift you, the figure encouraged, his presence glowing brighter. Your pain can be transformed into strength, for the stones cast at you can become stepping stones to glory. The congregation murmured in consent, their voices coalescing into a chorus that echoed off the chapel's walls. They were no longer isolated individuals bearing burdens, they were a powerful collective, a vessel of divine potential. Mrs. Thompson squeezed Sarah's hand tightly, her eyes fierce with determination. We are not just waiting for change, she declared. We are the instruments of change. Sarah nodded, feeling a swell of courage. Together, they could unleash the light within themselves. As the figure gestured, the air shimmered deeper, the light folding like a rich tapestry, each thread illuminating lives touched by grace. Now, let me show you what the awakening of faith looks like, he beckoned, and in that moment, the air around them flickered with possibilities. One by one, they stepped forward, allowing their individual stories to intertwine into a collective healing. Families released their grief, mothers proclaimed hope for their children, and friends embraced tears mingling with laughter. Sarah watched in awe as each soul seemed to unlock a part of their being, revealing hidden dreams and mounting desires. Miracles live in the childlike wonder one possesses. Embrace the mystery. The figure called out, ushering them to envision the potential of their prayers. Dare to imagine what could bloom from those very seeds you sow. A vibrant light flickered in Sarah's mind, igniting visions of David not merely healed but radiating with joy. She could almost see it, a splendid image of their future, bright and resplendent. Lord, awaken the joy that we've tucked away, she whispered fervently, believing every word, every whisper intertwined with hers, stitching a powerful garment of hope. Then, as if pulled by unseen hands, the chapel resonated with a soft but firmly persistent beat. Someone from the congregation began to sway, their heart in tune with the divine rhythm. Laughter bubbled forth, igniting pockets of joy all around, spiraling into a celebration of faith and renewal. The figure smiled tenderly, moving gracefully among them, absorbing and reflecting their hopes. "Hold tight to this energy," he encouraged. "For today marks the beginning of new chapters, waiting to unfold." But just then, a sudden hush commanded the room. The very air grew thick with suspense, like the last moment before dawn arrives. Eyes opened wide, hearts fluttered, each soul suspended in a moment of expectancy. What awaits you, dear ones, is a revelation beyond your wildest dreams. The figure's eyes glimmered, illuminating a mystery that hinted at the threshold of transformation. As the congregation held its breath, hearts racing with anticipation, a low rumble echoed again through the ground beneath them. Was this the divine promise stirring to manifest? Would they witness something extraordinary from their faith? Would they step fully into their callings, embracing the new life waiting just beyond reach? They were poised for more than just dreams. They hungered for divine intervention. What next awaited them on this sacred journey? The stillness hung thick, enveloping the chapel like a warm embrace. Each heartbeat resonated with a sacred promise. Sarah glanced around, marveling at the faces surrounding her, eyes wide, breath held, hearts alight with expectation. The air tingled, electric with potential as every soul teetered on the edge of a life-changing moment. The figure stood resplendent, the source of hope illuminating the very atmosphere. "Close your eyes, dear ones," he urged softly, his voice a gentle wind that swept through the congregation. "Let your hearts speak their truths. What do you seek?" Tension released as individuals began to murmuring their desires into the hushed space. Healing. Restoration. Joy. Each word floated up, intertwined like tendrils of smoke seeking the heavens. And as they shared their aspirations, the air thickened, shimmering with something more than just hope. It was pure inspiration. Sarah closed her eyes and joined in, the words tumbling from her mouth. "Lord, heal David. Show us your light." She barely whispered, yet it felt reverberated back to her like melodies in a grand symphony. With every prayer, the collective energy pulsed brighter, woven together by faith and intention, lifting upwards towards the divine. Faith makes room for miracles, the figure reminded them, his presence glowing like a beacon of light in the dim morning room. Are you ready to awaken your miracles? Are you prepared to unearth the treasures hidden within? The congregation stirred, pulses quickened, hands gripped one another in fervent anticipation. A young boy, eyes glistening, raised his voice, "But what if we're not worthy?" His question hung in the air, raw and honest. The figure turned to him, a knowing smile gracing his lips. Heartfelt desires always find a home in the divine. Worthiness is a gift embraced by grace. You need only to ask and believe. Tears began to flow as faith slipped into hearts like water into parched soil. "Lord, teach us to believe." A voice resonated, igniting like wildfire across the gathering. They were blossoming, seeds of courage sprouting anew. "Now, imagine your hearts as doors," the figure guided, his eyes shimmering like stars. "Each prayer is a key that turns the lock. Feel the cool metal in your hand, feel it turning, feel the doors of blessing open." A wave of shimmering light filled the chapel, each flicker matched to the pulse of their hearts. Visions began to pour into Sarah's mind. There was David, running through fields of gold, laughter echoing. She gasped at the sight, the images bursting forth from all corners of her imagination, filled with love and grace. Suddenly, the floor beneath them trembled once more, a reminder that they were walking into something magnificent. Just then, the figure raised his arms as if inviting the heavens to join them. The walls vibrated with a resonance that felt both ancient and new, a voice echoing, "The moment of divine intervention is nigh. Are you prepared to meet your creation?" Excitement soared, each person turning to one another. There was urgency in their voices yet peace in their hearts. The congregation shifted, ready to embrace whatever divine truth was to be unveiled. With a final wave of his hand, the figure smiled as the air shimmered. Revelation is at the door. Prepare to step in faith. What promise blossoms from your desires will be made real. And just as the hope was palpable, a blinding cocoon of light enveloped them, a harmony of hearts poised for transformation. What would they see? What changes awaited them just beyond that brilliant threshold? The air pulsed with possibilities, and the question lingered: was the journey just beginning? The light was a warm glow, wrapping around them like a mother's embrace. It pulsed gently, each heartbeat creating a rhythm that matched their breath. Sarah felt her chest rise and fall, an overwhelming sense of peace washing over her. In this sacred space, they were more than just individuals, they were a tapestry of collective yearning, each thread shining with anticipation. "Open your hearts to what follows," the figure spoke, his eyes deep as the ocean. "The universe is listening. Will you let your faith be your guide?" Sarah inhaled deeply, gathering courage. She felt the energy in the air shift, a keen awareness buzzing beneath her skin. Each murmured prayer resonated, echoing in a harmony that transcended words. It was not just voices, but a symphony of souls lifting towards the heavens, every plea adding to the melody of hope. As the brilliant light intensified, Sarah's mind opened further. In that sacred moment, filled with grace, she envisioned her community. They were all faces of strength and stories entwined, each seeking healing or renewal, yearning for transformation. "Breathe," the figure instructed, his tone soothing like a stream flowing gently through the valley. "Let your desires blend with divine love. See them as flowers, each blossom a miracle waiting to bloom." Sarah anchored herself in that visual. Each prayer became a petal unfurling, vibrant and alive. A sudden rush of clarity came over her. David's laughter, so pure and innocent, danced through her thoughts like sunlight breaking through clouds. She could almost hear it echoing against the walls of the chapel, filling the air with joy. And then, the light shifted. It had become a torrent, flowing like a waterfall, yet gentler. Sarah glanced around, catching the sparkle of wonder in her neighbor's eyes. A woman beside her, who had shared stories of loss and longing, smiled through unshed tears. They were feeling it too, the promise that something was being woven together. "This moment holds divinity," a voice whispered from within her. "Unlock its power with your faith." The figure raised his hands as if he were cradling the very essence of their dreams. "What you see is nothing compared to what is yet to come. Share your visions, dear ones. Let your voices rise in unison of belief." With renewed fervor, they began to lift their hearts, each word a thread weaving into the great tapestry. "Restoration," echoed a strong man's voice. "Peace," another cried. An elderly lady said, "Hope." And all together, they proclaimed, "Love." Tears flowed freely now. Joy coursed through them, mingling with the air thick with expectation. The figure's face shone brighter as if he were a channel of divine light, absorbing all their prayers, transforming them into something sacred. "Feel this moment, let it manifest in your spirit," he encouraged softly, arms wide open. "The doors to blessing are now ajar. Will you step in?" An electric thrill coursed through Sarah once more. She felt herself on the brink, the edge of magnificent revelation. But then, the ground trembled again, a reminder that they were still grounded on this earth. The light seemed to pulse in sync with their heartbeats, but confusion threaded through the wonder. "What if we are not ready for what lies on the other side?" A frightened whisper broke through the swell of voices, but the figure smiled, a beacon of encouragement. "What if readiness is simply the act of trusting in love itself?" His words resonated with Sarah. Would she trust? Would she take that courageous step? Her heart raced, an unspoken question echoing in the hearts of many. What miracles awaited them if they dared to believe? The light shimmered even brighter, waiting, beckoning to be explored. What awaited them beyond the threshold of their combined hopes? Could they embrace their sacred blessings? As the congregation held its collective breath, the answer hung in the air, a divine mystery yet to unfold. In that moment of suspended breath, the figure lowered his arms, and a hush fell upon the gathering. It was as if the air itself held its breath, waiting for the sweetest unveiling. Sarah could feel the collective heartbeat of the community, a rhythmic pulsing of hope that seemed to echo back to her. It was both a lullaby and an anthem. What if you could reach for the impossible? He asked softly, his voice like a whispering breeze. What if the key to every door lay in your hands? An excited shiver danced along Sarah's spine. The idea ignited something deep within her, a flicker of longing and anticipation. She thought of David, how desperately she wanted to see his smile again, hear his laughter ringing like bells in the air. Could this be the moment she would step into her deepest longing? Each of you holds the essence of potential, the figure continued, his countenance radiant. You are reflections of unending possibilities. Let your desires pour forth like a river, cleansing and rejuvenating. Sarah took a deep, purposeful breath. She envisioned herself standing at the riverbank, ready to dive into the deep waters. Everything that held her back felt insignificant compared to the vastness of her faith. Around her, she noticed others doing the same, their expressions shifting from uncertainty to radiant hope. A young girl, trembling on the edge of her seat, spoke up. I want to heal from my past. Her voice was pure, woven with courage. The figure's eyes sparkled with understanding as he nodded in affirmation. Then cast your burdens into the light, he declared. Release what weighs you down, for each one of those burdens are the stones from which new life can arise. The energy surged. They were a community, a family united by love and hope. Sarah felt it tighten around her heart, wrapping her in an embrace of faith. Now, let your voices rise, the figure urged, his arms still outstretched. Speak your truth. What are the miracles you seek? In that moment, as one, they began to call forth their dreams. Healing echoed through the room. Unity. Another cried. Joy. Boomed a man, his voice filled with fire. Each proclamation became a thread, brightening the fabric of their gathering. Sarah closed her eyes, focusing wholly on her heart's cry. Revive my spirit, Lord. Let me embrace joy. A sudden warmth flooded through her, igniting memories of laughter, light, and love. When she opened her eyes again, the brilliant light was blinding, filling the chapel with an ethereal glow. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, a cascade of color dancing before her. The atmosphere trembled with possibility. What begins now can heal wounds, mend hearts, and open the doors of your dreams, the figure declared. But remember, faith means surrendering to the journey ahead. As the words soaked into her, doubt slid to the edges of her consciousness. The trembling in the ground steadied, and a new pulse emerged, born from the collective belief binding each one together. What if our ability to receive these miracles lies in our willingness to step into the unknown? A voice echoed from the back. Sarah turned, the soft light enveloping her as she realized the enormity of that question. With every heart now aligned in purpose, the unknown felt inviting, like a pathway illuminated by the very light they had summoned. What awaited them on this path? What transformations lay just beyond their reach? As they stood on the brink of revelation, the light beckoning them forward, a deep question lingered. Were they ready to let go of their fears and embrace the beautiful unfolding of destiny? In their hearts, the answer started to ignite, a promise waiting to bloom. As the light enveloped them, Sarah felt a surge of hope swell within her chest. It was palpable, a force so strong that it seemed to give shape to her unspoken dreams. The figure in front, his presence like a gentle wind, brought a peace that made her spirit dance. Embrace this moment, he encouraged, his voice echoing softly. You are at the threshold, ready to step into a reality where miracles aren't distant dreams, but the bread of everyday life. Time felt suspended, as if they had all stepped outside the bounds of the ordinary. Murmurs of excitement filled the space, each declaration echoing and amplifying faith. I want courage, shouted an older woman, her voice cracking with emotion. Freedom from doubt, came a shout from a young man, his passion igniting the room. The waves of voices intertwined, a symphony of longing and faith, building to a crescendo. Each voice, each desire became part of something bigger than themselves. As Sarah listened, she could feel her own heartbeats join in with theirs, a collective heartbeat that rang with sincerity and truth. Let go of your fears, and shed the layers of doubt, the figure proclaimed, his arms wide open. Now is the time to release the past. You are not defined by what has been but by what you choose to become. The crowd seemed to surge forward, stepping into the light that surrounded them. Sarah's breath caught as she felt the warmth wash over her, like soft sunshine breaking through the clouds on an April morning. "What do you truly desire?" the figure asked gently, his gaze piercing yet compassionate. "Speak it out loud. Don't hold back." "Freedom," proclaimed the young mother who used to feel trapped in her regrets. "Joy," chimed in another voice, this one bright and full of life. The atmosphere shimmered with anticipation. Each declaration seemed to shimmer in the air, charged with potential and divine essence. Sarah closed her eyes again, searching deep within herself. "Let me trust more," she whispered, almost as if afraid to voice her deepest wish. "Help me find the courage to love again." Suddenly, warmth flooded around her. She felt the tender embrace of spirit, a presence that filled her with indescribable peace. A tear trickled down her cheek, but it was not one of sadness, it was a release. "Each tear you shed nourishes the seeds of new growth," the figure stated softly. "Let them fall freely, for in your vulnerability lies your greatest strength." As the tears streamed down, Sarah felt others join her. They wept together, tears of release, of longing, of powerful hope. Within moments, the sound of their shared emotion transformed into a gentle hum, a resonance of unity creating a powerful chant. "Trust." She heard a voice call out. "Yes. Trust." They echoed, the words spiraling into the very fibers of their being. In that moment, Sarah felt something settle in her heart, a weight lifting but also a sense of grounding. This was the miracle, the alignment, a communal rebirth. "Remember," the figure said as the energy shifted around them, "this is the beginning. You will walk a path where your faith will be tested, where doubts may arise. But step forward boldly, for every moment is a new chance to embrace what is possible." The collective energy tingled, resonating through their hearts, creating a vibrant bond. Sarah could see flickers of light in the eyes of those around her, love, hope, and the dawning of new aspirations. As they lingered in the embrace of the moment, the air shifted again. An unearthly quiet enveloped them. "What lies just within reach?" the figure murmured, raising his hands once more. "And are you prepared to embrace the divine shifts that are now unfolding before you?" With his words, a sense of anticipation filled the room. They were poised on the edge of a divine adventure, ready for what lay ahead. As that tantalizing question hung in the air, Sarah could feel the winds of change blowing gently around them. What miracles would they encounter on this spiritual journey? What transformations awaited them just around the corner? As the chapel soaked in the light of hope, Sarah felt a surge of divine energy, a wave of love crashing over the congregation. Each villager stood uplifted, their eyes wide with faith and a sense of belonging. The figure at the altar shone brighter, guiding their hearts towards something magnificent. "Prepare yourselves," he declared softly, "for today is the feast day of miracles. With every prayer, doors to your dreams swing wide. Will you take the step into your destiny?" Sarah's heart thudded, resonating with those around her. She thought of David, of their children, holding every aspiration within her. The notion that healing was not just possible, but tangible, settled into her spirit, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. She could almost see him, joy radiating from his being, laughter filling their home again. The echo of voices rose like incense, heartfelt and piercing the heavens, each declaration a key turning the lock of divine potential. "Healing," one cried. "Restoration," came another. The air shimmered as these desires danced toward the divine, entwining in an effervescent tapestry of light. "Let go of doubt," the figure encouraged, his voice a gentle tide washing over them. "Step into the flood of faith, for what you seek is manifest and awaiting your acceptance." The ground beneath them rumbled, a gentle acknowledgement that something extraordinary was surfacing. Each heartbeat synchronized, resonating with the pulse of miracle and grace blossoming in their midst. Sarah felt her spirit surge. This was the moment her surrender was not a loss but a courageous leap into divine possibility. As they stood in that sacred space, a hush fell again, a gentle pause that seemed to stretch into eternity. The whispers of prayer calmed like a river, flowing as one. Sarah closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. Lord, let every burden fall from my heart. She inhaled deeply, and fill my spirit with healing. At that moment, a brilliant flash split through the chapel, illuminating every shadow, every doubt. They were enveloped in a cocoon of divine love, each villager touched by something far greater than themselves. Joy bubbled over, laughter erupted, unity sparked. Feel. The figure encouraged, his hands raised like a shepherd welcoming his flock. Feel the divine connection. Your hearts are now unlocked, and you stand before the doors of blessings. In a single heartbeat, realization set in. Sarah lifted her arms in surrender, tears of joy sliding down her cheeks. Around her, others followed, laughter mingling with cries of joy as hope transformed every cry into a beautiful hymn of collective faith. The figure turned, glancing toward her. Are you ready to step through, dear one? His voice was a soft melody, brimming with tenderness. Yes. She whispered, shaking with anticipation. I'm ready, I believe. With an ethereal finesse, the figure beckoned, and the walls of the chapel shimmered, each flickering candle brighter than the last. Together, as one body in faith, step forward into your manifestations of healing, love, and joy. And as if the heavens themselves responded, a rush of energy flowed. One after another, villagers stepped forward, embracing the light, the warmth wrapping around them tightly, grounding them in awe. Suddenly, the doors of their hearts flung open, joy cascaded over them like a waterfall. Around Sarah, faces glowed, burdens lifted. It was an exquisite explosion of healing, faith released, promises birthed. Families clasped each other's hands, hearts entwined as the transformative energy danced in the in that vibrant moment. Sarah felt the hand of God resting upon her soul. She had broken free. No longer bound by dark thoughts, she stepped forward, intertwined with her community, into the divine journey they had all been beckoned to embrace. Thank you, St. Jude, she murmured, her heart swelling with gratitude. Hope, love, and healing washed over her like spring rain, igniting blooming flowers after a long winter. The figure smiled, casting a warm gaze across the chapel. He nodded approvingly. Now you see. Beloved children of God. Where there is faith, blessings flow. Your journey does not end here, it begins anew. Liven this light and carry it into the world. The villagers erupted with cheers, their voices harmonizing like an unbreakable cord of unity, a proclamation of faith echoing throughout the chapel and beyond, spilling into the evening air, carrying their hopes into the universe. Believe. Trust. Love. They sang in unison, vibrant with renewed life. The village of Albridge transformed that day. Checking in on one another became a fallback routine, prayers turned into daily affirmations, and each soul became a beacon of light for those struggling beneath shadows. They were forever changed, thankful, healed, living witnesses of love. And Sarah, her heart no longer trembling, stood transformed, not just as a devoted wife, but as a warrior of faith. This is the moment to step into faith. Now, do not wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that will light your journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, for this miracle deserves to be shared. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. Let your voice be known and uplifted. And don't wait any longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and love. You need to step into your divine promise now.